This is the Puck Junk Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. I'm Sal Berry, and with me is Tim Parrish and Clemente Lisi. And today we are going to talk about the 2022-23 Parkhurst Champions Hockey Card set. We'll also talk about the PWHL cards that dropped on ePack last week. And also we will talk about the big discussion that's been tearing up social media over the past week if sports cards are investments. So, gentlemen, how are you doing? Clemente, we'll start with you this time. What is up? What is the latest and the greatest?
Nothing. Been a lot of late nights with the Rangers with the playoffs, but otherwise I'm coming off celebrating a really big anniversary.
Oh, that is your wedding anniversary?
No, I got an email last week saying it was my 20th eBay anniversary. I was like, wow, I did not know that, but I guess on April 30th of 2004, I joined eBay. And it's a miracle I'm not bankrupt at this point, but anyway. They didn't itemize everything I bought on eBay, which was good because that would have been something else. So
that would have been hilarious. I mean, unfortunately, they lost all that data, or they didn't keep it. But and now I think you could see back to the past 3 years. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Congratulations on your 20th eBay anniversary.
Not even like a 5% off or anything. Just telling you, hey, you've been on eBay for 20 years. That's it.
No, you don't get anything. You don't even get the gold star or whatever, or the little, I remember they sent me a little certificate when I hit 1,000 positive feedbacks. They sent me like a little JPEG of a certificate.
Right.
I guess you don't get that anymore. And Tim, how about you, man? What's up?
Oh, nothing, just out here living the dream. What else could be up?
But how do you know if it's a dream or if it's real? I mean, what if the dream was reality and reality was the dream or some Matrix stuff?
Look, you know me. I'm always as happy as a pit bull in a butcher shop, so it's all good over here. We got the positive vibes. We're just always chilling with the vibes over here.
The hobby positivity.
That's me.
Yesterday I was starting to feel sick, and I thought, oh no, it better not be COVID again. And then I'm like, no, I don't have any of the symptoms, but I felt like I had a flu without the fever. I was watching hockey and I was lying on the couch and I didn't want to go to bed, and it was a late game and it was on TNT or TBS or True or whatever, the broadcasters that we like. And so I'm like, I really want to watch the end of this game. And I was just like thinking, oh man, I hope I can podcast tomorrow. And I'm like, well, if I go to school and teach, then I'm going to podcast, right? But then fortunately I got a good night's sleep, felt great. No idea what that was, but man, I don't want to get sick in the middle of May and when there's hockey playoffs going on and all this great stuff. May's just such a great time for hockey because it's on every night.
You collect COVID like you collect hockey cards. Like if you got COVID one more time, you'd have enough to make like an 84 top set.
Yeah, with the single prints.
165 cards, right? Yeah, you'd have 165 COVIDs.
Nope, that would just be my 4th time, but that's still embarrassing for a guy who's fully vaccinated, I don't really socially distance anymore, but I mask when I'm in uncomfortable situations. But again, I have no idea how I got COVID a 3rd time because nobody else in my inner circle got COVID. Girlfriend didn't get COVID. Her kids didn't get COVID from me. My family, my aunt, my sister, my brother-in-law didn't get COVID. My brother, his wife, his family, my dad, everyone around me did not get COVID. I somehow got it and nobody else did. And everybody else hung out with me. This was back in December. So yeah, man, I mean, I'm thinking if it happens again, I don't even know what to think.
Sal, I'm surprised that you got all these vaccinations. I don't even get the vaccines anymore. I just go to card shows, and if you don't get sick there, you won't get it. You won't.
Herd immunity. That's how it works.
I get herd immunity. I go to one national and maybe one spectacular a year, and I'm inoculated against all kinds of stuff, I think. So
a month before the Fall Toronto Expo, I got my booster vaccine for COVID, and I had to lie to get it because they're like, oh, you don't need it. You're not over 65. You're not a little baby and you're not weak or sickly. And I'm like, I need it. I'm immune compromised. They're like, oh, okay.
I need it for my glaucoma.
Instead, you know what I call the booster? I call it the expo. So I went to the expo,
What you mean?
and there you go. So because that's good because when you go to the expo, you get like this Canadian germs there now. So I'm totally helping me out. But anyway,
Yeah, I get COVID, which is spelled with an unnecessary U. It's COVID is how they spell COVID in Canada.
right, right.
I think he played for Montreal, didn't he?
COVID.
Saku
It's like COVID
Koivu.
number 19.
Oh, Koivu, yeah.
Yeah,
Saku Koivu.
Koivu.
That's not really nice, Tim.
Koivid is his name.
Koivu 19.
I don't get COVID. I voted straight R ticket last election, so I'm kidding. This isn't political.
So, okay, enough about politics. Let's talk about something not at all controversial, unlike politics or religion. We're not controversial here. We're just going to ask the age old, and by age old, I mean probably since 1990 question: are sports cards an investment? Who wants to touch that one first? And I guess preface this with that. I guess there was some study or report that came out recently that I didn't read. So one of you guys is going to catch me up because I didn't do my homework.
Yeah, no, I'll set it up, and then, like we said, then Tim will knock it down. There was a study that came out, I guess, last week by the Seton Hall Sports Poll, it's called, and every year they come up with something regarding something in sports. This year they tackled the hobby and the collecting industry, and their poll found that 46%, or nearly half of Americans, consider sports memorabilia a financial investment. And now with polls, you have to always be careful because it depends who you speak to, but it's interesting because, and there are no past polls to compare them to, but I think this idea that sports memorabilia is an investment is something that has been drilled into people's heads now in the last 5-6 years by YouTubers and by just people everywhere, um, because that's what, like we've said in the past, that's what draws people is dollar signs and the idea that there's money here. Now they kind of broke it down by asking people like, okay, do you collect, right? And 28% of U.S. households said they collect sports memorabilia, which seems like a lot. It's almost a third, right? And then the further breakdown of that is interesting. It's like, well, what do you collect? Okay, so 54% said sports cards. So cards are number one. 47% said autographs. 40% said balls or equipment. And then 7% said items like hats, bobbleheads, ornaments, which if you think about it, that kind of makes sense because that's kind of the percentages of the kind of things you see at a card show. You'll see cards mostly, and then there's autographs and equipment, and then the other stuff. So I think the survey kind of brings in all the pandemic or post-pandemic hype that the hobby, you know, um, is experiencing. And kind of interesting because I think similar numbers probably existed back in the 90s. And we all know how that went. So
You'll notice I had to put on my glasses while you were talking because I just happened to glance over at my giant investment of sports cards that I have and realized that it's about to go supernova. So I needed to protect my eyes from the brightness of all the profits that I'm about to make. Yeah. So here's what this boils down to, right? This conversation, this discussion is had over and over and over again ad nauseum. And why? Because the definition of investment, plain and simple. Everybody defines investment differently in their own head. Nobody's pulling out Webster's dictionary defines it as blah, blah, blah. We're not doing that, right? Because you can do that and you can make a point that, yeah, sports cards, probably not an investment by definition. But you take the colloquial term of investment and how people feel that word means, sure, okay, that's really what they're doing. And I don't know, this was a few days ago, maybe. I think it was, like 3 days ago on X. You had a popular hobby account on there run by Ivan Lovegren called Watch the Breaks. A lot of people know it. It's probably one of the most followed by a lot of people in the hobby. And he just posted, I don't believe sports cards are an investment. He put it in quotes. He's like, they're a hobby. They're speculation at best as a financial asset. Their value is simply based on what a random segment of the population is willing to pay. And unlike stocks, you aren't giving your money to a business that's producing some sort of output estimated to be more or less profitable in the future. When they return no actual value, even though their value is based on popular sentiment, could go up and down, player performance, that kind of thing. But, he pointed out if we're going to make analogies and comparisons, let's use as much of a fair set of data as possible instead of these trite sentences designed to draw people's engagement. And so he actually posted some sales of the LeBron James Topps Chrome rookie card from various time frames, basically 2012, September, October, November of 2012 and early 2013 versus what we're seeing in May of 2024 for basically the same card with the same types of grades. And you can clearly see the biggest difference that, these cards were going for under $200 graded at auction. We're talking tens to essentially selling $4,000, basically the same card. So essentially what he's pointing out is, look, if we're going to go by definition and how things are, then, here's what we are. And, of course, everybody's chiming in all the way down to everybody's good old hobby hero, Jeff, jumps out there and says, I strongly disagree. Well, of course you strongly disagree. You created a site to get people to pay you money for sports card investment advice. So of course you're going to disagree.
And that site is called what?
Sports Card Investor.
So the guy who created Sports Card Investor disagrees and believes that sports cards are investments.
Yeah, I know. Shocker there.
Just making sure I have the story straight here. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, you're totally up to speed now.
Okay, got it. All right.
I mean, he eventually threw out there, he's like, what you're saying then is that gold isn't an investment because it's too just valued at what people are willing to pay and has no real utility. Same with real estate. Same with fine art, diamonds, jewelry, many other things. When people jump in on this kind of stuff, it's crazy because I feel like sometimes they don't listen to what they're actually saying to themselves. Because his last sentence of what he says, he says, it's hard to say iconic rare cards and many of these other things that he mentions aren't an investment when they've outpaced almost all traditional forms of investing for the last 50 years. And essentially that makes Ivan's point is that there's a big difference between what's an investment and what's speculating. Those are two different things. Speculating seeks to get an abnormally high return from what you're putting into it, and investing is more of a long-term kind of hold thing if you're talking about time period. Because look, what is speculation? It's gambling. That's what it is. That's really what it is. So, there's all this gold talk back and forth about, can we compare gold? Can we compare commodities? Can we compare this? Can we compare that? Look, bottom line, whether you think it's an investment or not, I think that's kind of besides the point. I think we're well past that because all this does is just create that controversy, and you'll get half the people saying, the people that are invested, quote unquote, because they're trying to make money and they're using it as some form of arbitrage to where you're just buying and selling a product, essentially. Yeah, you're going to call it an investment because you want people to invest in the business that you're doing. And your business is selling cards. It's not good for business if cards go down in price. So you have a lot of these people that go out there and say, cards don't go down, they always go up. You have to look at the grand scheme of things. This card came out 40 years ago and it was only worth 50 cents and now it's worth $100,000. Yeah, well, 3 years ago it was worth $500,000. So you got to look at the bigger picture of that kind of thing. So I don't know. Are cards investments? Honestly, I don't think they are from a standpoint of a traditional type thing. I think of an investment as something long-term that you can put money in for the long haul, something that's worth something, something that has something tangible on the back end to it, where it's connected with something that could produce value in and of itself as its own entity, like stocks, where you're buying into a business. And there's regulation. That's the other key thing. There is zero regulation to this industry. Zero. So
Right. No, but you mentioned stocks, which is key because you know how many shares are being sold. There's regulation. You know what the price of each share is. When I get I'll say it, a Bedard rookie card, Young Guns. I don't know how many of those they printed, right? Because this is what happened in the 90s. Everyone was buying up all these cards, saving all that wax boxes. They're all going to put their kids through college. And then it turns out, oh, well, yeah, that was a big bubble and they mass produced everything. It's not worth anything and it's all junk. And so I agree. Now, are some things valuable? Yeah. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. People conflate the Babe Ruth uniform and the Mickey Mantle bat with, just some random card. And they think everything is in the same universe. And it's not. Because if that was the case, we would be millionaires and we're not. So tell me that. Oh, someone could say, well, you're buying the wrong stuff. It's like, no, we're buying the stuff we like and the stuff we could afford. I'm not buying the Mickey Mantle bat or the whatever, Roberto Clemente uniform. I mean, that's the high end stuff, and that's the stuff that is in the headlines all the time. So I'm not surprised that people in a poll would say they think, half the people think that this is an investment thing. When I go to a card show and I talk to you guys, other people, I don't hear the word investment. I hear like, oh, I like it, like I did as a kid, or I enjoy doing this with my kids, or I did it with my dad, or it's a sentimental, nostalgic thing, or they're sports fans and they want to engage with the sport in a different way. That's what I see. The investment thing is for people who are trying to make money, and these are people on YouTube and other places that this becomes like a big buzzword for them. That's what I think.
it's also silly when people jump in. Well, what about art? What about gold? What about jewelry? What about this? What about that?
There's
You can play,
rarity to those things. They're rare. They're
you
rarer.
can play the what about game all day long, but the thing is, traditional investments, the way people normally think of the term investment, I mean, there's a certain like barrier of entry, right, for that type of stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know your guys' financial positions, but I know I can't go today, call my financial advisor and say, buy $50,000 worth of Apple stock, because what's that, like one stock share at this point? I don't have the ability to do that. But if I went into a card show and spent $50,000 on cards, well, I mean, not only is my wife going to kill me, but that's not, look, I don't have to get my financial advisor involved unless I paid X amount of dollars to some goofball website for them to tell me what I should be investing this money in. Keep in mind, these people are not fiduciaries. They're not licensed to do this. So anybody that pays anybody for financial advice that's not actually financial advice, you've got problems. Like you do. You should seek help. Seek help right now. We can provide a number for you at the end of the show. Just send us a message and we'll help you out with that. But again, we could have this discussion over and over and over, and we do in the hobby. Are they investments? Are they not investments? It depends on how you define investment. And you'll have one group of people who'll be like, well, in my mind, it's blah, blah, blah. And another group, in my mind, it's blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I don't know. Can you put money into cards? Sure, you absolutely can. Does that make it an investment? I don't think by definition it does.
So, a couple of things here come to mind. First thing is that I think people use the word investment as kind of a catch-all because we don't really know what an investment is. Like we think of an investment as I spend money and then this thing is now worth more money than it originally was, right? Like that's just how we think of it. We've been hearing that term used for sports card collecting since the early 90s, right? Or the late 80s, right? Like sports cards are an investment, even if they're not. It's said that they appreciated in value and that there's interest, right? But I don't understand traditional investments other than I have a 401k that I pay into And every quarter I get a statement that says, this is what I put in, this is what my employer put in, this is the value of the stocks, bonds, slow growth assets, etc., that were purchased. And then this is what it's worth now. That's what I think of. Actually, so I don't really know how that relates to this. I know that cards can go up and down in value just like anything else, just like comic books, just like toys, just like a pair of Air Jordan sneakers, right? I mean, all of these things appreciate in value because there's people who are interested in them. I'm not really saying anything here that's groundbreaking or earth-shattering or enlightening. I'm just saying that, like, the fact that people want to argue about this, and honestly, it just boils down to, I mean, it's almost like the emperor has no clothes, right? And the little boy goes, look, he has no clothes, right? It's like, look, it's only worth what somebody will pay for it. And that's the end of it, right?
That's it.
You can have the most valuable card ever, and I might not be able to afford it. Or if I could, maybe I just don't want it. And then it's not worth anything. I mean, you could have a 52 mantle and I could have a lifeboat and we're on the Titanic, and you'll be like, hey man, I'll give you this 52 mantle for that lifeboat. And I'll be like, no, I hope you can swim, Tim, right? Just kidding, I'd let you cling to the side of the boat, but the lifeboat, while I was holding your Mickey Mantle card out of the water, so that it doesn't get damaged. The other thing I want to say is this, because we're all around the same age, the three of us, and I think this is an interesting parallel here. The three of us remember when the internet really became a thing in the 90s, right? Where we started looking at websites, finding out about stuff that we liked, maybe finding message boards, finding fan pages, whatever, right? Like I remember like, oh, I'm going to find fan pages about Transformers and about Star Wars. And then, oh my God, somebody has a hockey fan page. This is so cool, right? And the thing is that as the three of us went through college and we learned about stuff, and maybe we started to do research for our various college classes, and we did internet research, a lot of times we had to vet that information ourselves, because we'd find a website and we'd say, is this reliable? Okay, this is published on yale.edu. I think it's reliable information, right? Or this is published on geocities.com/neighborhoods/starship/Sal Berry, right? And you'd be like, I don't know if this is the best site for me to get information about Shakespearean literature, right? Or whatever. You know how like older people always say, don't trust anybody over this age, or what did they used to say? Don't believe everything you see on TV. Don't believe everything you hear on the radio, right? There was always something like going back, like don't believe what you hear on the radio. Don't believe what you see on TV, right? Don't believe what strangers tell you, whatever, right? Don't believe everything that's on the internet. I think the younger generation, not to sound like an old man, but I think the under 30 crowd, a lot of the guys walking around with the cases who are buying lots of cards, I don't think they really know how to vet if information is legit. Or let me walk that back a step. Not so much if they know the information is legit, but one of my vetting processes is what is their agenda? So going back to my yale.edu example, their agenda is to promote education, to share knowledge, to share the research, right? Because that's what their mission is. If Sports Card Investor is telling me I need to buy this card, I want to know what is that guy's agenda. That guy's agenda is to make money. Okay, that's fair, but at whose expense, right? Or what's the trade-off here, right? So just some rando telling me, like when Gary Vee was telling everybody to buy Brian Leach rookie cards. It's like, why? Why are you telling me this? Like, what's in it for you? Right? It doesn't feel like it's altruism. Like, oh, you should all be investing in Brian Leach rookie cards. Why would you tell me to invest in this thing? If you know something that is going to give you a leg up on me, why would you tell me for free? Or you charge people for that information, and then that's their incentive, right?
Yeah, they're not charging. They're doing it for clicks. Like, right. And then that's how they make money.
Clicks make money too, just a lot less money. I'd rather have subscriptions than clicks,
Well,
but
I just want to piggyback off of something you said, because the poll did mention something of the effect that 31% of people said they found it difficult to find what things were actually worth, which is interesting because while half the people that are collecting think it's an investment, a third of them though don't know where to go. And so that's part of the problem too, is that the place that people go generally is eBay. And or and eBay is not the stock market because it could be easily manipulated even more so than the stock market. And so that's the troublesome thing here too, is that the whole market value is based on, like you mentioned, these people with the bro cases. The first thing they do is they go on their phone and they look at the last completed sales, and that's what dictates and motivates them. And the truth is, there could be 5,000 of those people who are all buying and selling the same high value stuff, and pumping the value by all doing it. And so, unless there's regulation involved, then it's very much a very volatile, and you buy at your own risk. Now, we buy because we like it, we enjoy what we're buying because it's part of our collection, or we're completing a set, or we're buying like $5 cards. Those are not investments. Those are just, as a hobby. It's exactly what it is, a hobby. And for these people, it's not a hobby. It's something totally different.
When it ceases to be a hobby and it becomes your business, that's where the line blurs, I think, at that point. Because now it's, well, people that are buying and selling though. What are you doing though as a buyer and seller? You're buying for the purpose to sell, right? So that's not investing. That's buying inventory for your business. That's a business function.
That's exactly right. And one thing I want to add to that, because you just took it right out of my mouth, or right about what I was thinking when you brought up about inventory. I talked with some sports card dealers that I'm friends with, and I said to them, I said, "Oh man, if you get some more Connor Bedard, whatever's O-Pee-Chee rookies or Upper Deck rookies or whatever, right, or boxes of Series 2, you should just hold on to it for 5 years." And they said, "No." They said, "We're not in the business of speculating. We're buying and selling. That's how we make our money. We're not going to get into this, well, we're going to hold on to this for 5 years. That's not the business that we're in." And I thought about that. I said, "All right, that's pretty cool, right?" But yeah, that's not what card shops, I mean, maybe some of them do it. I don't know. But they're really in the business of selling the thing, because that's what people come for. If everybody's looking for a Gretzky card and nobody's willing to sell the Gretzky card, because everybody wants to hold on to it for 5 years and hope that it goes up in value, well, then you're not selling the things, right? All of these things have some value. Most of the time they go up, even if it's from a nickel to a quarter, right?
And that's exactly it. And to kind of piggyback off of what Clemente was saying, there's so much just, I don't want to say fraudulent activity that goes on in the marketplaces, but there really is. I mean, market manipulation is a real thing, and it's because it's an unregulated industry, it happens all the time. So the more and more you rely on these completed sales, you're not really doing your research. You're relying on others to do the research for you and simply post numbers, and you're just supposed to take them for face value. So in a transaction situation where a buyer and seller, and you come to me and say, "Hey, I want this card," the last 5 comps are, X, Y, and Z, and these other two. Were they fixed prices? Were they auctions? Did anybody actually bid on them? Did they end at weird hours? Were anything spelled wrong in the auction title? You know, is one graded and one's not? Is one in a bad condition? Did they have horrible pictures on the auctions? Who's doing that research? Like, I don't see anybody disclose it, whether they are or not. But you're not going to walk up to the table and have a dealer say that to you. You're going to be like, "Oh, you got this $500 card. Will you take $450?" The dealer says no. So you pull out your phone and you're, well, this one went for $375 and this one was $400 and this one's this. Okay. And so what? Because again, what does that mean? You could see what everything is. Like if you're in like a stock or a mutual fund or anything. You can see what all that is. You want to know what any of it is? You can look it up. Hey, look, 700,000 shares of whatever sold yesterday. Oh, yeah? Well, there's a breakdown. You can figure it. You can find it. I mean, you and I don't want access to that. We don't care about that kind of stuff. You know, if I'm talking about like my retirement plan, I'm certainly not buying sports cards for it. I'm going to invest in a company or something. You know, I'm not doing that. So, I don't know. Again, it boils down to what your definition of investing is. We're going to conflate whatever that is to match whatever our agenda is. Like Sal was saying, it depends on your motivation. You know, if you think cards are an investment, they're an investment. If you don't think they aren't, then they aren't. So we could argue about this till the cows come home.
A little speculation is fun, right? That's part of the fun. There is a joy when you buy a card and it's a $2 card, and then all of a sudden this guy's tearing up the league, and now it's a $100 card, and you're like, yeah, I did good, right? And not like good spelled in like leet speak. Like, you did good, right? You bought something because you liked it, and then all of a sudden it became something that was desirable to others, and there's a little bit of a cool feeling to that. You know what I mean? Even if your intention isn't to resell it, it still feels nice. It's a nice feeling. Like when somebody clicks on the link on your tweet to your article 37 times and you're like, yeah, I did good. 37 times is not great, but you know what I mean, right? Like, it's a good feeling. You know, speaking of Connor Bedard, so I reprised an article that I wrote for the newsletter called Hobby Bros Be Hatin'. And this was in response to the article that I wrote called The Decline in Value of the Connor Bedard Young Guns card.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't feeling very creative with that title. And then I thought of like, Tim, you know, the compilation album, The Decline of Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years?
The movie is a fantastic movie.
I haven't seen the movie, but like,
it's a documentary.
Yeah, it's a documentary, but the soundtrack was like one of my, I don't know how I ended up with it, but I loved it, right? So I just remembered The Decline of the Connor Bedard Young Guns card.
Maybe we can get Penelope Spheris to do that movie too.
So I revised this article because I wanted to do another gut check on what the Bedard Young Gun is going for now. Did you guys know what it's down to now around? Without looking, I'll tell you, but I'm just wondering if you looked lately, because I looked this morning.
I mean, it's under 5. I mean, you can even find it under 3, depending on when you find the auctions, but it's settling where we thought it would, between 350, 400 or so.
Lower. The range is 250 to 350.
Wow.
Now, there are examples where there are still raw cards that go for 500. But lately, it's been between 250 and 350. And you know what tipped me off on this and made me think about this was yesterday. One of my eBay auctions, I get notifications every time there's a Connor Bedard Young Gun listed because it's something that I want to buy. And when I saw somebody listed it with the buy it now of 350, I said, okay, if the buy it now is at 350, something's up. Right? And then I look and then I see closed auctions for 249, 259, 289, 329. And then I see PSA 9s going for between 250 and 400. So if this was an investment, it was a terrible investment. And we said this 2 months ago, like, just wait. I don't know. Will it hit 200? I'd like it. I'd like to be 200. I'd be happy to pay $200 for it. Hell, I'd be happy to pay what a hobby box cost for it. 300. Here you go. Done.
Right. And that's the thing. Now the card's worth less than the box. If you buy the box, you're probably not going to make your money back. If you got the Bedard, you would make your money back on the box at $330. But that first week, it was $1,200. That first day. And look, whoever bought it that day is just trying to show off that they bought that first day, because there's no reason to spend that kind of money on day one when now 3 months later it's 250 or 300 or whatever. You know, so
yeah, and I mean, even graded PSA 10s are selling for about 900 to 1,000.
Right, less than the raw original, right? And the thing is, will this card be worth thousands of dollars? Yeah, maybe in 30 years when he's had a long career, he's retired, he's a Hall of Famer. look at the Gretzky rookie, right? Same thing. Now we've talked about that before too. Like, but there are no shortage of them. I mean, they're everywhere, and you can get one in like a 4 or 5 PSA, and with good eye appeal, and they're like $500, which is totally
Mm-hmm.
affordable for most people. If you want to splurge on that.
Mm-hmm.
I know where you can find about 28 of them still in the box.
Yeah, well, we got to follow up on that story. No, yeah. So right, the pack fresh. No, but that's the thing. It's that, and that's a 40, whatever, something year old card of probably the
Right.
greatest hockey player ever. So, if that's your bar, then everybody else falls below it. I mean, we talk about that all the time too with rookie cards that are in newer sets and they're numbered and nobody cares. And they're not worth as much as a Young Guns card because of supply and demand, the FOMO, hype. I mean, whatever, demand. Everybody wants
Hype.
it. I mean,
Hype.
hype. It's all factors.
Anything numbered out of 99, there's your supply.
Yeah,
Anything numbered out of 99 or 299 or 499 is less than the print run of a Young Gun. And yet,
and yet, but we keep comparing this to the stock market. We should also know that the stock market is also not foolproof. I mean, just this week, the GameStop stock went up again because of
what?
manipulation, just like it did a couple of years ago, because these guys
Yes.
got together and made it happen, and the market has to kind of combat that. The sports card market has that too, only there's no external force doing anything about it, and that's the problem. And so that becomes the big issue. The problem is most people think, or half the people think, it's an investment, and a third of them don't know where to get reliable information about it. That to me spells a recipe for disaster for new people or people who are foolish enough to think, oh, yeah, I should buy a couple of Series 2 boxes and sit on them. Because as someone who in the 90s bought some Upper Deck and some other hockey products and kept them in the box, they were literally worth the same or less 30 years later, right? Okay. Now, because that's just the way it is sometimes. And these people who are buying these boxes for $330, will this box be worth a lot more in the future? Look, I'd be happier if Upper Deck numbered all the boxes. Oh, well, there's this many boxes. Okay, great. Now we know how many boxes they are. But short of having numbers around these things, it's just a shot in the dark.
You can't even speculate with like, well, there's serial numbered 100, out of 100 of this card and times however many cards, because then they'll say on an average of one per box, right? So you can't even extrapolate, 250 cards times 100 UD exclusives, etc., right? That would kind of be like a good way to like figure out how many boxes they make, but you can't even buy that. So
The people in this survey that essentially half think it is an investment and half think it isn't an investment. I mean, look, when it comes to straight up looking at sports cards, like you said with the stock market, are there external factors that sometimes go into that? Sure. We see the market manipulation there for the GameStop. If you're doing commodities and stuff, I always turn back to the old what was the movie?
Trading Places.
Trading Places, yes, with the orange juice futures,
Right.
and that whole thing. If there's a
Right.
bad winter and the crop gets destroyed,
Right.
the commodity price is going to go up because it's going to be scarce. So it's
Right.
all about the supply and demand type thing. And what's the external factor here on Bedard? Prices drop to the point of they're $300-$400 now consistently. We talked about it before. Is he going to see a Calder bump? Maybe. I'm actually surprised he hasn't seen a little bit of a bump with the World Tournament, the World Championship. He's tearing it up over there. But somehow everybody's focused on, I don't know, the Stanley Cup Finals over here.
Well, they're not paying
no one's
attention
talking
to
about
it.
him.
Yeah,
So
they're not
nobody's paying attention.
Yeah, they're not paying attention
But
to it.
man, he's lighting it up over there.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. Is it an investment? Maybe. That's all I'll say. If you think it is, then sure, it is. If that'll make you sleep better at night, That's what I'll go with.
All right, let's talk real quick about the PWHL cards that came out on Upper Deck EPAC last week. So, 8 different cards featuring players from the Professional Women's Hockey League are available on EPAC from now until May 22nd at 4:29 p.m. Pacific time. I didn't make up that time. That's when they're available until. 8 different cards, $5.99 each per card. These are physical cards, so you will get cards once they're made. They're print on demand cards, so it's an open run. It's not limited to 1,100 or 1,200 cards like the usual game dated moments. These will be printed as much as need to be printed. As many that get ordered will get printed. So, kind of cool. We're starting to see some PWHL cards, although maybe not in the way we originally thought, but considering how the league kind of just happened like pretty quickly, I guess this is still like, I don't want to say better than nothing, but it's still nice that they're able to turn something around this quick.
When they made the announcement, I was like, holy crap, they already came out with a set. And then I went and looked. I was like, oh, it's 8 cards? Well, it's exactly how I felt. I was like, well, I guess 8's better than 0. So,
But at $6 a card,
yeah, I mean, 8 times 6, that's 178. I don't know, math is hard.
yeah, plus tax.
I am interested in a few of them. I don't know if you saw the photos of them.
I took a quick look, yeah.
Yeah, so card number 1 is the New York Toronto in the first game. It's a pretty cool picture because it's kind of like a fisheye lens picture taken from center ice, but back into the crowd. So you have both teams kind of lined up on the blue lines for the ceremony. It's kind of a cool looking card. Okay, I've been a proponent for this. I've wanted to see these come out. I'm kind of excited for them. I wish this was a set and not just the game dated moment on demand type things. But if you're going to get into women's professional hockey and you're going to support it, this is all we got right now. But they did do the parallels though, like they do with game dated moments. So every 10 packs, you get a silver, and every 25 packs, you'll get a gold. On average. So you'll get the base card and 1 extra card in the pack.
Oh, that's nice.
But there's a card of Natalie Spooner. There's a card of like when Montreal set the attendance record. You got the first hat trick from Savannah Harmon is on a card. The first shootout with Lorianne Rougeau. Those are the ones that pop off the top.
So it's basically like almost like a season in review kind of mini set.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. And maybe a precursor to a future set or inserts and other products. I mean, you're right. You have to start somewhere. I mean, we've been waiting for some kind of women's hockey cards forever and ever, it seems, in the shape of. So I'm glad that there's something at least.
And I'm hoping that's what this is. I don't know if it's just they're delaying because they don't have they have to do something with both the PWHL and the Players Association both together. Obviously, they would to have to get, the players' likenesses and all of that so that everybody gets paid. But remember, this whole season, they wore the nondescript,
the generic stuff.
I play for the New Yorks, and I play for the Torontos. And
right.
It's like, because they didn't have the logos. Now, this coming season, is that going to change? They got Bauer working for them now, making their jerseys and everything, which was announced, which I think is cool. And I'm so glad it's not Fanatics. You can cut off my allotment and my allocation all you want, but I'm so glad it's not Fanatics.
When I point that out to you guys, Tim wrote, "Oh, that means Fanatics will now buy Bauer," and that was kind of funny because it was like, yeah, it's almost like an Onion headline, like Fanatics discovers Bauer and buys it, But no, I'm glad that they went with somebody who's tried and true hockey, maker of hockey, jerseys and equipment. But it's a good start, and maybe there'll be these great uniforms next year, and that'll open up a whole apparel thing, and then new cards. Because ideally, these cards would also be sold or given out at games. I feel like you need to get regular fans involved somehow too. Doing an e-pack is fine, but you have to really be knee deep in the hobby to even know it's on there or to care.
Let me just interject here because I'm glad you brought that up. So there is a big pro and a big con to this. The pro is that they could get these cards out in a hurry because there's only 8 of them. It's print on demand, and they'll print them once the orders are in, right? That's the pro. The con, or I guess that's a couple of pros. The cons, I guess, because there's going to be more than one, is that they're expensive. They're $6 a card. And like you said, you have to be knee deep in the hobby to buy them. Like whenever somebody would say, "Oh, I want that card," and I'd say, "Oh, you got to get it on e-pack," and then I'd start explaining to people, "Well, then how do I have it shipped?" "Oh, well, you have it sent to your ComC account." "Oh, what's that?" Right? Or you can have Upper Deck sent, and everyone's like, forget it. It's too complicated, right? Like you have to know how these things work, right? Like, and if you don't, then you're just gonna either you're gonna figure it out because you really want to figure it out, or you're just going to throw up your hands and say, forget it. I'm not interested. I can't go to the store and buy this.
It's too much work for the new, like the young girl or even young boy who went to a couple of games this year, got into it, and then says to mom or dad, "Hey, I want these cards." You're right. That's like sounds like you can't untangle all that. That's a lot of work.
And who is going to spend $50 on 8 cards for their 8-year-old daughter who wants these cards, right? Like you're going to be like, "Nah, I'll just get you a t-shirt," right? Because that's a lot of money for 8 cards. Like, so then you say, why are these prices so high? Maybe this goes back to the whole investor speculator thing, right? Because that kind of seems to be Upper Deck e-pack's model is they say their cards anytime, anywhere. That's their tagline. But really, $6 for one card? Now, there's something nice about going on e-pack and saying, you know what, I don't have a local card shop. I'm going to go and buy this pack of Upper Deck Series 1 for $15 because I can't get it anywhere else. And this is nice. Or this is better than the alternative, which is nothing. But when the only way to get the e-pack cards are on e-pack, and then you're paying $6 for one cards, this becomes a really bad litmus test of will these cards sell as a set, right? Like I understand if you make a bunch of box sets and sell them and nobody buys them, you're stuck with all these box sets and they end up at Dollar Tree, right? Or whatever. They end up in Fairfield repacks, right? And that's probably the worst thing to happen to a new card product is to get put in a repack or end up at a dollar store or something like that. So then you go, all right, I'll put it on e-pack and kind of test the waters, but it's not really, I don't want to say worth it because there are some cards I'd gladly pay $6 for. There are some print on demand cards I'd pay $6 for. Hell, I've bought a lot of Connor Bedard stickers. Those are only a couple bucks each, $2 each or whatever when you buy them new. But at $6 each, I mean, you know what? Do a set of 8 cards, make it $20, done.
Well, that's their. I hate to use the term wheelhouse, but that's their wheelhouse number for game dated moments, $5.99. I mean, that's what they always are. It seems like,
except for when they sold that rookie debut set, and those are $18.99 a pack for a 3-card pack. So Upper Deck knows how to change the dollar amount of the cards that it sells on its own website. I know $5.99 is their game dated moment price.
$5.99 a card versus 18. That's the same price.
But so what? But it doesn't have to be that price.
It doesn't have to be, but
I would argue that Upper Deck is paying a higher royalty to the NHL and the NHLPA than it is paying to the PWHL and the PWHA or whatever, PW Professional Women's Hockey Players Association. I had to sound it out for my P brain. Per PW Women's Hockey. Yeah, okay, all the letters are there. Right. So I don't know.
Well, they haven't sold out for those that want them. They're all still there. So
I mean, they're gonna end up
Yeah.
on ComC for half the price, aren't they?
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe
I mean, I don't do e-pack.
in 8 to 12 weeks we'll find out.
Yeah, what I do is I see something on e-pack, I'm like, that's great. and I wait and I wait, and then I'm on ComC and things are on there for $1 or $2, and I buy a couple what I want, and then I get them shipped to me. And it's not. I mean, I don't get them the moment they're out there, obviously, but I wait long enough, and the price goes down. But it'll be interesting to see how many are being sold on ComC, because that will also be a measure of, are people jumping on these and hoping to flip them? It's not going to be that situation here, I think. So, and then they're going to end up on eBay. They end up at shows. They end up, over time, they get into the population.
If you can believe it, I got 4 trades offered to me on ePack this week. 4. I didn't know people were still doing it. 4 trades. It's crazy. I didn't take any of them, and they all expired. But still, I got 4
No,
trades.
I think if you buy and sell cards and you love hockey cards, I think it's a great, ePack is great. I'm not on it, like I said, but I probably should be. But and then you have this marriage with ComC, which makes it really great. But if, like we were saying, if you're just new to the women's hockey, or you're not into cards, and all of a sudden this is the disconnect between the sports fan and the collector. We're both. That's fine. But when you're one, not the other, this is the kind of barriers to entry that make it difficult. And that, I mean, and that's something that, when you're trying to grow a sport, it matters. If it's the NHL, it's fine.
No, I totally agree with both of what you guys are saying. That taking a product that people have been waiting for, that they could have put in people's hands at games and as fans, and burying it behind an electronic card trading service that most people have no clue about. I will give Upper Deck this. My X feed over the past probably 2 months, like every 10th tweet is, do we still call them tweet? Every 10 X's.
Posts.
Is
Posts. They call them posts.
Every 10th post is an Upper Deck ad, it seems like.
Yes.
And since they made the announcement for this, that's the one that's up every single time. Usually I block ads, but for some reason I let that one go just because it's Upper Deck. I don't know. Does that make me a corporate shill? I don't know. Maybe it does. But
Well, you don't want to cut them off. You don't want to cut them off from your feed, because
they may say something I care about.
Yeah, exactly. And then you cut them off, right?
They won't, but they might. You never know.
They might, and no, yeah. I mean, exactly. So, look, we'll see. But
yeah, I agree. Burying in this here, that they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, the other thing
you
too,
you have to be looped in on this. I mean, that's why I get all those Leaf emails, and 98% of the Leaf emails I get are stuff I literally don't care about. Catch us live on Whatnot, or we have new pickleball cards, right? It's all stuff I could give 2 poops about, right?
Because they're so eclectic of the mix of what they offer, that's kind of what you're going to get from them.
Right, but I can't specify I don't want pickleball cards. I don't want cards of, attractive pole vaulters who have 20 million followers on Instagram and also are signing cards for Leaf. I don't need that stuff. I only care about the hockey, but I can't really separate it. And that's fine. So sometimes you got to get all the ads or all the info to get the stuff that you want. And I wouldn't block Upper Deck's ads, because this is what I talk about. This is what I report on, right? So I need to know what's going on in the world of hockey cards.
Livy Dunn was at the Pirates game this weekend for Paul Skeen's debut. Livy Dunn, one of the people that Leaf put on card. She's like a influencer, and she's also a decorated gymnast at, what college is it? LSU, maybe?
Yeah.
I think it's LSU, but
I was thinking, if you want to get a Leaf card, you got to be like an influencer and a pickleballer. That would be amazing. Then you would totally get on there. But no, it's true. I mean, we all sign up for those emails and we all get spammed. But on the rare occasion you want it, you hear about it first, and you're able to purchase it. That's the way it works. No, I'm just glad these cards aren't like these women's hockey cards aren't like virtual cards, or I mean, they're real.
Yeah.
And that's good, because if they were virtual or whatever, when I hear that, I just kind of just shut off. I don't care about any of that stuff, or tokens, or whatever they want to call them, NFTs. Those things seem to have disappeared as an investment. Talk about coming and going, right? You don't even hear that acronym anymore. But I'm glad they're real. Eventually, they'll end up in people's hands, one way or another.
So let's talk about some cards that are in people's hands right now, and that would be the 22-23 Parkhurst Champions Hockey Set.
Well, they're not in our hands. Let's be honest.
Not in my hands.
I'm sorry. For once, I am holding all the cards. Right? I guess these are not available in New York or Lowell, Indiana. Lowell, right?
Certainly, definitely not Lowell.
I almost bought a blaster on Amazon this weekend, and I just didn't. And then when you mentioned them today, I'm like, oh, I could have. Well, I probably wouldn't have gotten them yet, but maybe I
You
would.
could buy 4 blasters on the Upper Deck store and then get free shipping, and they'd be $25 a blaster.
Which is a normal price for a blaster.
Yeah,
box.
which is a normal price. So last month I bought a couple of blasters. This month I got my hands on a hobby box. So let me just give the quick rundown on the details of the set, and then we can discuss some of the finer points. But 22-23 Parkhurst Champions by Upper Deck. A hobby box costs around $120. You get 20 packs per box, 8 cards per pack, so about 160 cards per box. Except if you get like a super thick jersey card, then you'll get less cards in that pack. Now, what does a hobby box give you? 1 autograph/memorabilia card per box. I don't know if they mean autograph or memorabilia. I think they mean autograph and memorabilia card. The hit that I got in my box was an autographed memorabilia card, so I believe that's what they mean. 4 base set rainbow parallel cards per box, 7 insert cards per box, 2 base set color variations per box, 1 additional hit per box. Blaster boxes, on the other hand, 5 packs per box, 8 cards per pack, 40 total cards per box, and a blaster box will cost you $25. So you're looking at about $5 a pack if you buy a blaster. You're looking at $6 a pack if you buy a hobby box. That's the breakdown. As far as the set itself, 350 cards make up the set. You got 300 base cards. So 1 through 260 are veterans. 261 through 300 are rookies. These are not tough rookie cards to get. They're like printed in the same amount. The last 50 cards, though, these are tougher to get. 301 to 325 are short printed rookies. 326 to 350 are short printed legends. In my blaster boxes, I got 1 short print per blaster box. And in my hobby box, I got 4. So 1 every 5 packs. So it seems to be 1 every 5 packs, regardless of whether it's a blaster or a hobby box. There's also 21 photo variants, a ton of inserts, and a ton of parallels that I will talk about later. But yep, that's the lowdown on the set. Guys, I know you haven't been able to get your hands on the cards yet, but anything jump out to you about the set?
Yeah, I'm just going to say 2 things about it that jump out to me. One, I thought the base set was large. Like, it's a lot of cards. I thought maybe more than they should be. But, And the second one, hopefully it's not a tangent, but I'm always kind of torn between when there's new sets that have a lot of legends in it. Because part of me feels like, are they just trying to pad this out or trying to appeal to, people who've been around multi-generation who want to get their hands on some superstars too, and not just the current players. So those are the 2 things I put out there for you guys. If but I thought it was a big size because this is the kind of set that I think you want to collect the whole set potentially, and it just seems big. And then the second thing, I'm always torn about, like I said, players who are long retired and they keep popping up in sets. Like, how many more Gretzky cards do I need? But maybe that's just me.
I'm going to be the complete opposite of that because I love sets like this. The more Hall of Famers, the more legends you can pack into a set, I'm all for it. Because I think most people already know I'm not like too keen on the whole ultra modern thing and chasing rookies and all that kind of stuff. And while seeing players that are current in their current jerseys that are out there on the ice every day, that's great. But I like the nostalgia. I like seeing newer product with older players on it and see what treatment they get if they're going to use new photos that maybe they haven't used before, or how they're going to be displayed on the card, or what other interesting things they're going to throw out there. Look, I originally thought, like when they first announced this set, I was kind of excited about it because we've seen Parkhurst Champions before, and we know what Parkhurst Champions was the last couple times around that it's been released. And we've looked at the cards and we've seen, a really nice set both times around. So the fact that they were announcing it again and throwing it out there, I was kind of excited because I thought it was going to be honestly more of the legend than what's actually in here. Look, if you look at the overall checklist, there's only of the base and the short prints. I mean, there's only 23 cards of Hall of Famers. That's not that many considering it's 350 card total set.
No, I said that only because there's the Tim Hortons Legends set as well. That's
Oh
like out
yeah.
now, and so it just seems like a lot.
Well, but there's only 25 legends total in the set. 23 Hall of Famers and I think 2 non-Hall of Famers who are part of the Legends subset, because the last 25 cards in the set are the short printed Legends.
Right.
It's not packed with it, but this one's more of a, if you want to call it, more of a nostalgic type design, kind of, sort of. I mean, look, here's the draw. The draw is all of the stuff that they're doing to harken back to the good old days of Parkhurst. So there's all of those 51 retro designs. There's all those 50s flashback cards. They threw in a bunch of interesting insert cards. And, the real draw, which we were talking before, I don't think any of us have seen one yet, but it's those 51, 52 buybacks. Nobody has seen one pulled yet that I know of.
Right.
So, I mean, that's been the big thing. Are people going to get them? Has anybody seen them? So, I mean, that's where the excitement lies.
Those are not numbered though, right? No. Is it like a 1 of 1? No.
No, they're the buybacks.
Yeah.
No, you get a redemption for the actual card, like a real 51, 52 Parker.
Oh, okay.
So that was like the big thing. And, you look at the 51, 52 Parker's checklist, it's like there's a couple misses on there, but not many. I mean, the vast majority of that set is Hall of Fame players. So now what kind of condition those cards are going to be in? Are they going to be graded? Who knows?
But that adds a dimension to it that's a little different. The whole buyback thing is interesting. And so love to hear some stories from people about, we're pulling it finally, or at least we get to see a couple of these. I mean, maybe it's too early still, but
there's a bunch of the auto redemptions that have been floating around on eBay, but none of that buyback one. I know I was looking at a couple the other day that people had posted on eBay. There was a couple of the Jukebox Heroes ones, but then there were some other auto redemptions for just the interesting mix of players. Look at the checklist. Yeah, to your point, are there a lot of cards? Yes. For a set these days, 350 cards, including all the short prints and stuff. That is a lot of cards for just a basic set. But if you go down the checklist, now you're going to get some players that you wouldn't normally see on a checklist, right? You're gonna see cards of maybe some deeper second, third, even possibly fourth liner guys be thrown on those checklists that you wouldn't normally see cards of. So it gives you a bigger, casts a wider net, to use a cliche.
I like the design. Of course, I'm a sucker for anything that has like an old timey type of design. I mean, it has like kind of like a tan border, like a beige/tan border. So you really get that feeling of like that old, 50s Parkhurst when the cards were like printed on that beige cardstock. And then you have like the player cut out, has like a white outline around them, and then like the background is in like black and white and kind of ghosted out with the gradient. I mean, it looks retro and also modern at the same time, because I can't really think of many gradients on stuff from like the 1950s, right? Because I don't think they had that printing technology back then. But it feels both retro and then modern. I mean, even the color photo on the back, it's got that nice matte coat, like a really good matte coat on it. So these would be great for autographs, but they just have a nice feel to it. And it's kind of nice when you have like a pile of cards and they don't like slip apart like the super glossy ones do, like Upper Deck Series 1 or whatever, where you stack them more than like 20 high when you're sorting. They start to the
Wait,
pile starts to slide.
do they feel more like the O-Pee-Chee cards and less like Series 1 and 2?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
okay.
exactly what they feel like. They
Okay.
just kind of have like that matte coat to them. Like there is a little bit of like a coating, but it's not like just paper. There's something on it, but it's not glossy. I would argue that there needs to be more legends in a set like this because this is appealing to the guys like us who like those retro-esque sets, right? Like the guys who are looking for a high-end rookie card, they're probably not going to buy this set. They're probably going to buy something else like SP Authentic or SPX or SP Game Used or Black Diamond, right? Or whatever, the Cup, right? Whenever that comes out, they're going to go after those types of sets. So I feel like, if you're going to cater to your more vintage collector, give them more reasons to collect it. And so I feel that like they could have easily done 50 legends. They could have done a mix, like instead of putting them at the end, like 25 legends at the end of the set does feel like a filler. It just feels like, well, we got 25 more cards that we got to do something with. Yeah, let's just put legends, I guess, right? Whereas with other sets, like Parkhurst Champions, I think it was like where they had them kind of intermixed throughout the set, like Gretzky as an Oiler, Gretzky as a King, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr. So they felt like they were more part of the set, and that was just part of the base set itself. That's my first complaint. Not enough legends for a set like this. The second complaint is, man, one short print in every 5 packs. It's easier to pull a young gun than it is to pull a short print in what I guess we could say is a low end set at about $5 a pack. Now, is that the low end? Is that the new low? Is that mid range? I mean, it could be like low, what is it, upper lower class? Like my family would say we are. We're not middle class, we're upper lower class, right?
What's a hobby box running now?
120 bucks. So about $6 a pack.
In today's market, that's low end.
Okay. So the thing is that like, if it's a low end set, don't make it so freaking hard to complete. So if I need 50 short prints and I'm going to actually try to do this pack by pack, which I know is insane, but if I do it pack by pack, so what would it 50 times 5, 250 packs, right? No one's going to buy 250 packs of this, and I know that's not how it works. However, I will say this. Back my gateway drug back into hockey card collecting full time. 2005, 2006, Parkhurst. One short print per pack. I want to say there were 200 short prints in that set because it had a ridiculous amount of short printed subsets. And you know what? I said, screw it. I'm going to buy 200 packs of cards. And I know I won't get all the short prints that I need. I'll probably get some doubles and triples, but at least it'll get me pretty close, right? So that felt like a sporting chance, right? This, you just go, no one's going to spend that. So what are you going to do? You're going to go on ePack when it comes out on ePack and buy it. You're going to trade with people. You're going to go on eBay. It becomes too much of a hassle, right? Like if you're making this set appeal to old school collectors, make it a little bit more attainable. Make it a little more easy to finish, and then more people will finish it. It's like the same thing with inserts. We have so many insert sets just in hockey cards in general. We have so many insert sets, and they're not 10 card insert sets where you go, I got 8 out of the 10. I might as well get the last 2. No, it's 50 inserts. So then you go, screw it, right? I throw them in my 3 for $1 box at the show. People put them on ComC for 29 cents. People give them away to kids. They just don't care, right? The insert cards are worthless. I'm not talking about this set in particular. We'll talk about some of those inserts in a minute. But it's like, I don't feel like Upper Deck fully understands their target audiences, and there's more than one depending on what the product is and who you're trying to cater it to. The cup is not my product. That's not catered to me. That's fine. It doesn't have to be, you know? But something like this is my speed. But then I do something and I go, well, this is great, but this is really frustrating. You know what? Give me one short print per pack, and you know what? I'll buy 3 boxes of this set and try to build a set. And you know what? That's 3 more boxes than I would have bought, or 2 more boxes than I would have bought, right? Like I would have actually tried to do it. But now I'm just like, not that interested. So that's my rant.
As long as you don't try to do it blaster by blaster. Otherwise, it's going to get much more complicated. But
I don't know. Blasters are a little cheaper though, and if the short print ratio is the same,
is it the same? Well, if it's the same, you're right. But
yeah, it's one every 5 packs, because I got 4 short prints out of 20 packs in my hobby box, and I got 1 short print in each of my 5-pack blasters. So it's the same ratio. The difference is the blasters are costing me $5 a pack. The hobby boxes are costing me $6 a pack. Now, the incentive for the hobby box is there are more inserts that you get, and then you can get a jersey autograph card.
which looks really nice.
It is, and it's of Jonathan, Jonatan Berggren from Sweden. Jonathan Berggren, maybe it's Jonathan without an H. It is signed on card, which is nice. It's got a piece of a number or maybe a name, which is nice. It is serial numbered. I'm not saying they're all serial numbered. This is a nice freaking card. Unfortunately, this Red Wings player spent most of the season in Grand Rapids, but his last 2 seasons in the minors, he's been a point per game player. So who knows, right? The Red Wings are, I don't say infamous because they're not negatively famous. They're positively famous for letting their guys play in the minors a long time and get really good. And they've been doing that for years, and it seems to pay off for them in the most part. I mean, they didn't have the season that they wanted this year, but, you can't judge a set by the hit that you get. I mean, it's a nice card of a player who hasn't really hit his stride yet, or maybe won't in the NHL, right? But, the other inserts I could take or leave. If I get less of these rainbow shiny cards, okay, that's not going to make me or break me. Or these color variants, there's nothing to them. I mean, they're different. Instead of a black and white background, they have like a purpley gradient background, okay? And the name rookie or veteran or whatever's in the different colored ink. You got Tomorrow's Riches, which has like a player superimposed over a treasure chest, and it's also shiny, which makes sense because it's treasure. These are some of the inserts that you could get, some of the inserts or parallels. Okay, you guys will like this. There's one called 50s Flashback, and I got one about the invention of power steering in cars. And the other one I got, let me find it. This one is too freaking funny.
That's almost like an Allen and Ginter type feel, or Goodwin. I should say Goodwin Champions, really.
How do we feel about nuclear power?
Is that where Homer Simpson works?
Yeah. So this is another 50s flashback. I think this is the gold variant.
Because they're playing off the 50s thing. That's right.
Yeah.
The
So they're going to give us like a history of the 50s, right? And so a nuclear power plant, I'm like, this is a really stupid card and I don't want it.
Right.
And this is the gold version. What is the gold version of this card going to do? What is it going to sell for? What is it going to get me? What is the net to me on this card?
Oh my God. Please never say that phrase again.
I think it's going to blow up this card. No, but let me ask you this, though. Is that part of the set? Or is that an insert? Is that numbered?
So it's an insert.
Oh, it's an insert.
Yeah, the 50s Flashbacks is a separate insert set.
Okay.
It's like, what is there, like 15 cards in the set, I think?
I don't know.
You could ignore
Just be glad you didn't get the banana cream pie one, because you would have been really mad if you would have got that.
I will say I did keep my pierogi card, being of Polish heritage and also from Chicago. So pierogis were just a staple of my life growing up.
Dude, one of my favorite inserts that is from 15-16 Champs, and it's the food one with all the sandwiches. I love that set.
The pierogi was in that set. That I got the pierogi rookie card.
Like the sandwiches and then the fish.
That's like the very famous Allen Ginter, the egg one.
The egg.
Yeah, the egg.
That people were like, bidding on to get the price to go up, and before you knew it, the egg card was worth something, and then it's not worth anything, of course. But yeah, it's just interesting. Let me ask you this though.
Yep.
It's interesting because this is last season, so the rookies are a year old, so it's much easier to go back. As you mentioned, the rookies are not the big draw here, though. As someone who likes rookie cards, I don't care if it's the cup or this. Like a rookie card's a rookie card. It's cool, but I'll throw a curveball. If this had been this year with Bedard in it, what would it do to this set? Would it become crazy? Would a box be worth more? Like, I just don't know what that effect it would have on this set.
You're going to find out because this is on the docket for 23-24 also.
All right, so and we'll know, and it'll be a year later. So the Bedard mania will continue even next year with rookies because they're behind on some stuff, right? So
yeah, I think the 23 Parkhurst is on the release calendar for, last I checked, was like October, I think.
okay, so fall. Okay,
so it should be out like right around the time the season's getting underway.
Right.
For next year, but I know you're going to open more of these now that you're going to try to build the entire master set. So all I can say is if you pull the 50s flashback x-ray machine card, Jess will trade you for it.
Oh, the x-ray machine. Sure. How about, what are your thoughts on the Jukebox Heroes?
I like the die cut.
Yeah,
I think
cool.
that's a good touch to make them shaped like the jukeboxes.
But here's my problem. So I'm looking at this here, Brad Marchand. Marchand was able to hoist the Stanley Cup in just his second season in the NHL with the Bruins in 2010-11. He played a key role in the playoffs, totaling 19 points. Okay, so I get it. Jukeboxes became a thing in the 50s. This is a 50s themed hockey card set. But I had to look this up because it's like one of those words that I knew the definition of, but I didn't really know the definition of, but I always knew what it meant in just the context of the sentence. So juke, North American English in sports, make a sham move to mislead an opponent, right? Scottish English, Northern England, turn or bend quickly, typically to avoid someone or something, right? So a juke is basically a fake. You go this way, or a D. You go this way, then you go that way, right? Or you pretend to go one way and then you end up going the other way, right? So that's a juke. So when I think of like jukebox heroes, who are great at deking or faking out opponents? Maybe Marchand, I don't know. But I think of like a McDavid, a Patrick Kane, guys like that,
Kane's in there, still in a Blackhawks uniform too.
Well, of course.
But I have to say, I think that they mean jukebox like in the musical sense. Period. I don't think I think you're taking a leap there, Sal, but with this other definition, which I never even heard of. Really.
I'm sure somebody made the crossover somewhere.
No, but I'm overthinking it like I always do. But
or were they trying to do a double meaning? I don't think that they're that clever.
That's what he's trying to say. Double meaning.
Like, remember Lunchbox Heroes, right? And that was just putting players on lunch boxes. But when we talk about like lunch boxes or lunch pails, usually that means hard-working players.
Right.
Right. So you think of who are your hard-working players in the NHL? Well, they all work hard to get to the NHL, right? But you wouldn't necessarily say like a Nathan McKinnon is a lunchbox hero. He'd be a jukebox hero, right? So that's the thing. Like, they make these inserts and I go, oh, that's a cool idea for an insert. But then they make no sense. I go, that's a cool design, but the selection of players doesn't always make sense. Now, again, I haven't scrutinized the selection of players for Jukebox Heroes, but that's my point about it.
It doesn't top my list of like the weirdest or dumbest upper deck hockey inserts of all time, but that the jukebox is like an iconic thing, and so I think it's cool. And Tim's right, the die cut's cool. It's not like Hondo P. I had no clue what that was.
Hundo.
I had to look that up. I'm like, I still don't know what the hell that is.
Hundo, not Hondo.
Yeah. So anyway, and that's the thing. So at least these are, I don't know. These look nice.
It could be a third reason. It could be when the person, whoever designed it, was designing the card, they were listening to music and they put on Foreigner's 1981 album 4 and the song Jukebox Hero came on and they just heard that droning bass in the background and standing in the rain and just decided to call it that. We don't know.
It's like the three cherries of I mean, it's not what happened.
Like a slot machine.
Right.
We don't
Right.
know. We'll never know.
It's funny because sometimes the history behind some of these inserts would be kind of interesting. But like the back of the jukebox card, does it say anything about music or is
Nope.
it just about?
No, they're just info on the player that's on
And
the
that
card.
would have been cool if they could do some tie-in, like in the city that they're playing in. I mean, give me something more. Don't just give me another one of these backgrounds that tells me about the player. 'Cause
That's my problem with most of the write-ups on the backs of hockey cards these days is all they'll say is, Sidney Crosby had 2 goals and 1 assist in a 4-3 win over the Washington Capitals on October
it's
19th.
a photo caption, basically.
Yeah, who cares? That doesn't
Right.
tell me anything. I want to know, like if you make a set called Jukebox Hero, make it about the player who is great at faking out other players, and then just say that how, that helped them score, 40 goals that season or whatever, or how they went 20 for 23 in the shootout or something, right? But see, stuff like that actually takes work. It's so easy to just go, oh, yeah, guy had 3 assists in a game against Nashville in December. I filled my 25 word quota. Next, what's next? Oh, okay, there's something that I got to write about. I can't even think of a player. I can't. That's not.
Name any player, Sal.
That's not named Connor Bedard or Connor McDavid or Connor Murphy. Oh man, see, I was gonna say Nick Justad, but then I'm like, wait, is he current or was that his dad that played 30 years ago?
Who did you say?
Nick Justad? Bejustad?
Oh, Bukestad. He still plays.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it would have been fun if it would have been like, oh, some of these guys have like a pre-game music ritual, or some of the dressing rooms have music. Like, I know it takes work, but you have a license. You have the NHLPA is presumably working with you, or at least giving you permission to do these cards. Go the extra step. But whatever.
Yeah, but I feel like the NHLPA wouldn't sign off on goofy stuff that they think is lame.
Makes their players look bad. I thought it gives
We
them-
might not think it's lame,
but no,
they
but it
might
gives
think
them,
it
but it
is.
gives them personality, which the league lacks.
All teams have a PR person and all
Right.
teams have a marketing department. So I say, hey, I'm with Upper Deck and I need to write these little, I call them the BS blurbs, the bullshit blurbs. I need to write BS blurbs on the back of my hockey cards. Can you please give me some interesting facts about all your players? And they say, here you go, right? And then I go, oh, this is interesting. Jake Allen plays guitar in his spare time. Boom,
Yeah.
there you go, right?
Give me that. Give me that.
Like, the thing is, it's just telling us something about the player like they used to in the 70s on the old cards. That was way more fun than what they do now. So, like this, I just,
Yeah,
I
like
just,
fun facts. There's no fun facts anymore.
no. So then you don't learn from them, and then all you do is get a line of stats and their height and weight and stuff that you could get from Hockey DB or Hockey Reference.
Also, it's on the back of every other card that they've made that year, so that the guy's weight isn't going to change. But if I know Upper Deck, they would put a card and say blah 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 plays the guitar. He played the guitar the night before he scored a goal in a 3-2 win against the Red Wings. Like, they would still try to cram that all in there because they, like you said, they got to fill the back up, and that's fine. But I think the fronts look really nice though, of the Jukebox Heroes or whatever they call them.
These are also pretty nifty. The 51, 52 parallels. Actually, I don't know if they're parallels or inserts. I don't know if they made a full. I don't think they did the full. Let's see here. Okay, parallels. Black, color variation, gold rainbow, rainbow red, and silver inserts. 51 retros. Okay, so these are inserts.
There's only 100 of them.
Thank God, right? That's at least kind of attainable.
Those are both current and legends, right? They made
Yeah,
those.
they're mixed.
Yeah, because the Gretzky one I saw the mock-up for. And some of them are autographed as well. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Or-
so here's what they have for the 51 retros. They have autographed versions, red, blue, gold, rainbow, and wrapper back. And the thing about the wrapper back is that they put a 51 wrapper on the back of the card. So that's kind of cool. It's like,
That is-
whereas the other ones are just blank on the back other than the licensing information.
Right.
I mean, I'm torn. I wanna build this set. Dude, Tim, I miss building sets. But then I also don't. Like when I buy a set on eBay, then I'm like, I got the set. I got the full set. Even if I just buy the base set, or sometimes if I buy the base set with all the short prints, and it's like, okay, I have it, right? Whereas I look at the stack and like I'm like fighting the urge to not sort them right now as we do our podcast.
That's the same sentiment why I build and don't buy. You're like, I buy a set and I'm like, I got the set. I'm done.
Right.
That's why I'd rather build. But the same way you're saying that, I don't really buy wax anymore.
But let me ask you this. If I get 160 cards in a box, minus the inserts, minus the short prints, let's say I end up with just 800 cards per box, and I buy 4 boxes. What are the odds of me completing a 300 card base set with 4 boxes?
I'm going to go with slim to none and slim left town.
Right, because I'm going to get 5 copies of the same card somehow, or maybe 4 and 4 boxes, maybe one, you know what I mean? Because of the sequencing, right? So I'm going to get Jordan Binnington over and over and over again. So it's not even like if I buy 4 boxes and spend $500, at least I'll get the base set and some of the short prints and maybe a couple of interesting autographs.
You'll have a better chance if it's all from the same case break.
This is true.
Like if somebody busts open a case and they're like all of the boxes on this side,
Mm-hmm.
you'd have a better shot at not getting as many doubles.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know that. If you just walk into a store and there's stuff on a shelf, you don't know what cases it came from.
No.
Could have been the same one, could have been multiples.
Right.
Right. At least if you're at a show, you have a pretty good chance. If you buy like 4 boxes, they're probably from the same case.
Yeah, especially if they just put them out on the table, because they're usually busting the cases open and dropping them in piles. So
Yeah.
generally they're from that same grouping. But I mean, I did it one year with O-Pee-Chee. I bought 4 boxes off of a table at a show.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in a stack. 3 of the 4 boxes were duplicates
What do you mean? All the
of
cards?
the previous box. So I opened the first box, no dupes. I opened the second box, about half dupes of the first box.
Oh boy.
I opened the third box, about a quarter dupes of the first box and about half of the second. And I opened the fourth one, and it was dupes from all 3 boxes.
Wow.
So like the last box I opened, that fourth box, other than the inserts and the
Short prints?
parallels, I got no base cards that I needed out of that fourth box
Wow.
because they were all duplicates at that point. So
Right. So then you end up A, with not the complete set, and B, with a ton of doubles that you don't know what to do with.
Oh yeah, I think I had like 17 copies of Wojtek Wolski. So yeah,
There's a name for you.
if that tells you anything.
And I think it'd be Wojtek because it's the W's are pronounced like a V.
Him and Daniel Winnick, I think I had 10 copies of each.
So what was that guy whose name I botched? Nick Bugstad?
Bugstad.
Bugstad, and then
Yes.
and then you botched Wojtek Wolski.
I pronounce the W's just because I want to.
Right, I gotcha. All right. And I pronounced the J's because they shouldn't be silent in Bajugstad.
It's Bajugstad. That's what we call him in
Bajugstad.
my house. He used to be a Penguin for like a minute.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That patch auto that you got, was that your big card out of the box?
Yeah, that was my hit.
What's it numbered out of?
Well, this one is it's got to be a parallel, and it's numbered out of 35. So let's see here. Looking at the
Out of 35? Okay. Yeah.
memorabilia patches are either numbered out of 10 up to numbered out of 35.
Yeah. And what was your dude? What was his name?
Jonathan Berggren.
Berggren. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so there's 25 There's 25 legends in that base checklist.
Yep.
But when I look, there's 23 Hall of Famers. So who are the 2 that aren't Hall of Famers? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I haven't looked at the checklist.
I went and looked, but that's a good trivia question. I went and looked.
So 2 players who are great enough to be legends, but not
Yes.
in the Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
Curtis Joseph and Jeremy Roenick.
Good guesses, but no.
Okay, yeah, because you got to go further back than
so what
that.
about Mike Richter?
And
it's got to be someone who's retired recently, maybe.
or possibly somebody who hasn't retired.
Oh!
And is it a legend?
Yes.
Rangers
Oh.
legend Jaromir Jagr.
Yes.
Ah,
Absolutely.
of course.
The Yager's one of them. The
Of
other one
course.
is not in the Hall of Fame, and a lot of people think he is, even though he's not.
Right.
Mike Richter.
Nope.
Yep.
It would be Peter Bondra.
Oh.
500 goal scorer.
Yeah.
Let me ask.
That's the other one.
And Yager is in the Penguins uniform, right?
In this set, yeah. He is in this set.
Okay. That makes sense.
I like the set. I don't have it yet, obviously. I haven't bought any boxes of it because I'm kind of not on the wax train any longer. So I haven't partaken. But if I saw this at the store, I would probably pick up a box. That was the other thing, too. Did you get any of the photo variants? Because I've seen some of those.
I don't know, because I haven't had a chance to go through all my cards and see which ones are the photo variants. Again, I haven't sorted them yet.
I got you.
So I don't even know like what I have duplicates of.
We have to get off the podcast now so he can do that. He's dying to sort them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's like 20 cards in the set that have photo variation versions.
All right. I think this is a show. Thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. It's good to do some venting, get some things off our chest about investing, but then it was also fun to talk about hockey cards and collecting for collecting's sake, which is what we're about on this show. So thank you for listening to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. As always, if you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you'd like to sponsor this podcast, you can do so by purchasing a t-shirt at shop.puckjunk.com. If you like to read, please check out the Puck Junk blog at puckjunk.com and sign up for the newsletter at puckjunk.com/newsletter. And until next time, collect what you like.
For more hockey goodness, follow us on Twitter at Puck Junk.